The tractor engine. We got fuel filters fitted. We got fuel filter housing fitted. Fuel lines fitted. So we got So basically, it goes in here, then it comes out here, goes around into your pump, primer pump, and then it comes back up, back into the secondary filter, and then in through there. So this gets filtered on both, so it gets filtered before it gets to any mechanical systems, then it gets filtered before it hits the injector pump. So theoretically speaking, before it gets to the injector pump, it has to be 110% clean. 9 times out of 10, you'll find this filter will block up. Normally you have a coarse one in this and a fine one in there, or vice versa, I can't remember which way it goes. Secondary and a primary, they call it. But I like to run 2 primaries or 2 main Land Rover filters in there. The way I look at it is that if this one does block up, at least and for some strange reason some particles get past it, at least I've got a second chance of getting it before it gets into that expensive bit of kit there. We are going to spray paint all this very soon, but at the moment we're just getting it all assembled. We've got to make up a piece for that so it sits down straight. We've then got to fill this up with oil, the injector pump up with oil, and fill the engine up with oil. For the engine oil, we are running in oil 30, SE30 mineral based running in oil for vintage and classic engines. Miller's Oil. Optimus performance and fuel efficiency, designed for the internal running in of rebuilt engines, can also be used for test bed running. So there you go. So that's what we're using. We will run her probably for about 100 hours, 150 hours on that stuff. Then we'll do a change, put some fresh running in oil in it. Because of any shite that we might get in there, we'll probably do like an hour's run and then drop the oil, change all the filters and everything. Might not even be that long. And then we'll put some fresh stuff in it. Then we'll do a 250-hour service on her, where we would then put our proper engine oil in, our 1540. I'm trying to remember if I had a clamp on here or not, to stop these from wiggling. I'm sure there was a clamp on there, but sadly, if there was, I can't find it. It'll be in this cumbersome shed somewhere. I know that for certainty, but knowing exactly where it is in this cumbersome shed is a different kettle of fish. In fact, that might be it there, to be fair. That's it there. So there you go. I found it's nothing flash, I know, but so basically that goes in there like so. This goes up against that like so, to give all these little things a lot of protection. The injector pipes are not the original ones, and they're not the original style, but I think they're going to work. They are a bit tight around number 1, but hey, you can't win them all, can you? So try and get this so it's positioned correctly. There you go. Just gotta love it when a plan comes together. Oh, that's bigger. All the other ones were 10 mil. Oh, do this the hard way. The next engines I do, I don't actually have the proper fuel line set up for this. So what I'm thinking is buying the copper pipe and the fittings and making my own up. I know it'll be made out of copper, but I think this style looks a lot better than having that black plastic stuff just flopping around everywhere. I have used like Land Rover fuel line, changed the fittings on that, and then sort of like the sun's in the way there. Let's shut the door. Any other time the door stays shut. I've actually had it so that I've heated them with a lighter and bent them into place, but I like steel. I think steel looks a lot better, and with it all painted as well. And like people that don't paint, they get a bit whinged at, saying, oh, you shouldn't paint starter motors or dynamos or alternators and all that. Well, I hate to dishearten you all in some sort of conceptual term, but I've always thought that they were all painted from scratch. They basically built the tractors and then painted over everything. Because my dad's brand new 5610 when he got that. I'll try and root out photos of it at some stage, but it's the one that he had to tow in the porta cabin trailer. That had, the alternator was blue. This had paint on it. Fuel filters had paint on it. They literally just built the tractor and just went over the whole thing. But for me, I'm literally putting tape over all this, tape over this, tape over this, manifold here, and then I'm going to spray the whole lot. These I'm not too worried about because these are going to be changed probably once it gets fitted onto the new machine. These will be painted before they get put on. So, but at the moment we've got to check all this to make sure that we have enough clearance for the battery tray and etc. because we don't want to have injector pipes fitting certain things. Plus I want to get this all assembled because I want to start making a frame on it, and I'm not going to get much time on it from probably this week anyway, we'll say, because I've got that trailer build project to do. Oh, that's not even the right bolt. Because that sort of taking priority at the moment. Okay, I can't remember which bolt I had in here. Another tip when you're building something, don't chuck all your bolts in one big part. Because when you come to need them, you spend most of your time trying to work out which bolt goes in where. And then once you do work it out, you've then got to spend most of your time changing them around because you've either put the long one where the short one should be or the short one where the long one should be, and you're like, ah, damn it. Never mind. What's the saying? Adds to the excitement. These don't have to be super tight. Otherwise everything goes have to be a different size. The reason why these don't have to be super tight is we're not actually putting the battery on it as such as yet, because these have got to come back off to be painted separately, and then we can put them on. So if I put these on, I'm not going to get in all the hidden little crevices. At the moment, I'm not worried about any of those hidden crevices as such. I'm just worried about making sure it all fits where it should. Sort of nervous on starting this whole go because it's taken so long to build it and trying to make sure everything's better or slightly improved, dropping all the nuts and bolts at the same time, so making sure I use everything as much as possible as I can in a short time. I'll find some lock washers for them too. Same job. And guess what? Different size again. So for the injector pipe side, we've actually had to cheat a little bit. So we've had 2 different sets ordered for the injector pipes as such. And that's good enough. I don't need to do those ones, really. As a sort of a start, because it's going to hold it there. So don't know if this battery tray is twisted or there you go. Plenty of clearance under there. Oh, Turn you around. So we've got plenty of clearance under there, so that's all going to sort of miss, not vibrate. That's all pretty good. So I think we got it, to be fair. We've now just got to fit it in, so it's starting to look good. So next job is to take these brackets back off, sand them down, paint them. Paint as much of the engine as possible. These brackets we've got to sort out, so we've got studs in here that are rotted off and broken off. So we'll drill them out, probably cut them off, put new nuts on there. We'll probably take this bit off, put new nuts on here. I think this one's actually all threaded still. We might have to rethread that one. And then sort that out. We'll cut this dynamo thing off because we're not putting a dynamo regulator on. Well, it is for a dynamo. And go from there. So, yeah, one step closer. So, that's it for this week. And hopefully, next week we will get on to sanding and painting and sort that out. But this is only something I'm doing in the evening times at the moment. We would like to get some fuel through the system now, but I've got to fill her up with oil and sort her out, so that'll probably do that one evening. And then make a frame up and then put the starter motor on and take her out to my uncle's place and start her up, and hopefully she fires up first time. So thanks for watching. Please don't forget to comment, rate and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one. The engine's out, front axle's off. We done it yesterday. The weather was pretty windy, so I didn't bother recording any of it. So we've got to just clean her up now and then cut the chassis and the chassis in, weld drawbars in. So I've been working in the shed today because the weather's pants, and working on this. So brought myself another welder yesterday. So it's a SIP Weldmate T120 arc inverter welder. Also got myself, knocked that off the vise. Also got myself one of these gizmos. If I can get it off. Let me use my right hand. Which is a magnetic thing, so if you're welding onto steel, say for example, I can just stick that on there and we'll be good. Sort of thing. That sort of gives you the conduction that you need. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get a bit of copper pipe and flatten it out and then put it on this as a tag out, so I can just clamp my lead to that instead of having my lead actually permanently fixed to this, because sometimes it's nice to be able to do smaller things. But meanwhile that can stay on there. So can't get it off. Jesus Christ. Okay, so putting it on there is alright, but how do you get it off? Yikes. Right, bear with me for 2 seconds. Wrap it off. So what I'm thinking now is maybe welding a tag onto the side of this, so you got something to prise it off with, because that is just ridiculously hard. So that's that anyway. So getting back onto the Weldmate, so it's an inverter welder. I gave it a bit of a bash. I welded up my tow hitch here. Took a while to get used to the settings, but I got there, and I had another scrap bit down there that I played around on. So then I started getting onto the steering system. So here's the bit that we are sort of copying. This is the original bracket from the thing. This has to go on this way to allow for the pipes to go out that side to the steering box. This would be the engine here, sort of thing. So, and we'd have to eventually weld a plate on here to put your throttle linkages on, and we'll also have to make another one of these. But I've got some heavy duty steel that I'll drill and cut, and then we'll work out how we can measure the distance from where it needs to be once we get to it. But for initially starters, we've got to weld 3 inches onto this bit here. That gives us the right length there, and then to work out the angle, we're going to then measure from this point here down to here. We'll measure this distance in, and then that's where the steel welds in there, and then we'll mark that out on here, and then theoretically we should be somewhere like that. It's going to be quite heavy, but should be alright. So I ground a bit of this and this turns out, even though that is cast aluminium, this is actually steel. So to get the brackets for the top of the fuel tank, because you have your bottom of your fuel tank here, and not the top of the fuel tank, sorry, your dash thing goes on either that way, I think. Oh yes, no, your fuel tank does go on there. Sorry, so your fuel tank goes on there and then bolts onto the bottom and then goes into there. And then I think you have another one that bolts on there as well. So to get all that set, I'm going to use this piece of pipe. So we're going to cut this end off here, cut this off here, flush, and then weld this flush to that, and then measure the length we need, and then we'll cut, say, this off a couple of inches, and then cut that off the height we need. We're going to, the problem I've got is this is going to be very close into this, so I'm thinking about doing it 3 1/4 inches of steel plate in here, and adding a 1/4 inch higher, so we end up with a 1/4 inch gap at the bottom of this, because it will fit, I think, by going by like this. It will fit in, but it's like touching down there, and I would like to have it so it's not touching, so we're using that thing so there's no gap underneath. So that's what I'm tinkering around with today. So this afternoon my plan is I'm going to go in and have some lunch, and then we're going to cut some steel and hopefully get that sorted, hopefully, and then get this bit mounted. The plan is to, the end play today maybe, is to get this tack weld in place. Then we get onto this tube. I've already welded that I've lost. Where did I stick at it? So we're going to use this shaft. We're going to cut this shaft because out of the steering box, because the threads are damaged on that end, to extend the shaft. And I've got the other shaft right here, which belongs, so I've welded that together. Very difficult to weld with a bearing so close. I think I've mounted all the grease out of it, and I'm not sure how I'm putting grease back in there yet. But I'm not actually all too concerned about it, because this is only a steering bearing, and it's not like it runs flat around, so I think I'll just leave it as it is. And then we'll cut the shaft somewhere about the centre, grind it down to a point, and then weld that shaft onto that shaft, and then hey presto, to the length we need it. And then we know it's all one solid thing. I was going to use a piece of pipe, but I decided that if I could weld it and weld right around it to be a bit stronger, and I know it's hydraulic and you're not going to be yanking on it as hard as what you would be if it wasn't static steering, but that's what I think. We're also going to take note of these ports, and I'm going to sand this down hopefully and paint this black, and then we'll get marker pen and we'll write on each one of these ports what they are. So you got your pressure, your return, and then you got your steering rams, I think is how it worked. So you got your left, right, here you go, left, right, and then you got your tank, and then you got your pump. So pressure goes in there, that goes back to your tank, and then you got your left turn and right turn. That's the plan on that one. So go and have some lunch and then get stuck back into it, I guess. I've extended this 3 1/4, and I'm going to have to bolt that on top, so it's going to go that way, so the steering bit will have to sit into there and be welded into that bit. But before I do that, I think I'll weld in around there and weld that plate to it, to add strength. Didn't want to do it like that, but I'm going to have to. Either that or I cut the bolts. I might actually cut the bolts and have it so it's sort of sits flush, maybe. It might be an idea. The reason why I have to do that is because of this angle, this gap here. Now, this is where your throttle linkage would theoretically go, so there's got to be a plate welded in here to weld your throttle linkage on, and I'm planning to put a full plate in there, because the simple fact is I want to have it so that thing, but I'm actually going to weld a plate in there, have a bit cut out, and then weld another plate in, so there's a couple of gaps at the bottom here, so because obviously shit will sit in there. I've got to work out the angle on this, and I don't know how I'm doing that yet. So what I'm thinking of doing is, I don't know if I got the position right, so I've got to try and work out the position, because I've got to basically copy this. So I've got to try and get the position right for that, as well as all the rest of it. And I think this needs to go up a bit, maybe. I don't know. But saying that sits on there like that, as neat as it does, that has to be flush. So I can stick a level on that and see if it's the same. Oh. Here, let's do that. Can I set these up somewhere? Or can I do this one-handedly? And that goes that. But I'm quite impressed with my little inverter welder. I got my old arc welder down there, but quick grab. Here we go. So if you look at the angle of that, it doesn't actually look too bad, but we'll put a level on that and a level on that. If those two bits are the same, then theoretically we stick a level on that, we should be able to stick a level on that and get the angle. Now to find a level. Find a level. My shed is really clean. Like, it's the most cleanest shed you could possibly have. But then, if you had a shed that wasn't clean, it wouldn't be no fun, would it? So, let's go to the rover. I really want to start on this, but the weather's just pants. I want to have it out this week, but maybe next week. Maybe I've got a level in here. Oh, I've got my jump cables on there. There we go, there's a level. Oh, and a bevel. Maybe that might come in handy too. You never know. I haven't worked out how I'm doing the fuel tank things yet, but I'll cross that bridge when I get to it as well, I guess. Whew, windy. I might do the fuel tank, weld them on with it on the tractor, maybe. So, here we go. Oh, I've got a bobble in there. Might have to get a spare bobble for it. So, say a little bit of bobble over. Oh. And that's near level. Okay, so that's not quite level. Okay, so I'm going to have to try and level it somehow. Let's see if I can get you set up. Sorry about the door and the light. Not meant to be like that. So I got that bit spotty on fucking near level. Bobble to the outside. So I just need to get that so it's the same. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's just to get the angle of the thing. Probably using something round wasn't such a good idea. What else have I got? There we go. Like that. Oh, that takes it way too far. Oh, I see, because it's not actually sitting on there flush as such. That should be sitting like that. Okay, I wonder if I could hold it there. Now, how am I going to do this? Because obviously my bubble's going to go straight to skyrocket. What's that bubble do? Not very much. This is where you could do one of those bubbles that you can twist. I don't think this one does that. No. How am I going to work that out then? To me that looks pretty perfect. But then pretty perfect isn't perfect, is it? So that's not sitting flush on there. So I reckon that needs to be... So I think that's pretty spot on, to be fair. You got a bit of room for error because obviously you got the hole tank with the tank bolts onto, and the hole for the dash pan, which is a little bit bigger than what you need. So I've got a bit of room for a couple mil errors, but don't want to make too many errors. It's a tough one. But my plan is to cut this bracket out here. Do away with that bracket completely, because I'll be welding a plate in here, so it'll be welded onto here and then it goes down, which is going to be a bit tricky to do because this sits quite flush onto that. So I might have to sort of, I don't know how I'm going to weld that on there because that hangs out just a smidgen. So I might have to weld a plate in there and then grind a little bit out just for that to sit in, maybe. I don't know. Tough one. But it's looking like something. I hope I got that in the centre. That's the most important part, I guess. I don't want to weld anything permanent just yet, just in case I have to cut it and all that. So. But I'm getting cold because it is bloody cold out. It's only like 3 degrees Celsius, mind you. 2 degrees, 3 degrees. I think it went down to 0 last night. So winter is definitely on its way, and it's coming. So that is a guarantee. And then I guess the next bit would be to work out this bit, cut a strip out, and try and get it to sit in here at that angle. I don't know whether I should pull it down a bit more, because like obviously this, oh wait a minute, that could do with being tightened maybe. Maybe I should tighten that up first, so that would alter the angle. I never thought that, you dumb bum. There you go, that's nice. So that would actually kink it up that way a bit, which would match then that, because it was a bit higher at that end, so that would sort that out. So I reckon that is perfect. I reckon first guesswork is probably got it perfect. I am literally guessing at all this, mind you. So next thing I've got to work out is cutting the metal plate to go in here. I'd like to just take it and slightly put a bend on it. Now I got nothing with a bend on it, so what I might have to do is get the end, heat it up, hammer it with a hammer, just so I've got a little bit of a piece that sticks in, then comes around and down. Maybe. Bit of a tough one. I've then got to try and flush this out, because this was stuck in a container like that, so don't know how I'm doing that yet either. I guess you can just put fluid in it and turn it and roll it around. And then we've got to cut this and put this in. Now, my theory is thinking, if I cut the right bit off there to get the tank sort of in the right place, so before I cut this, put it on that other one. If I put it on half, like it should be, and measure from there to there, then measure from there to this piece, I should then get a sort of a alignment, and then all I have to do is cut this so that this height from here to here is the same, basically. So measure from there right up to here, then cut this off, so this measurement and here, this measurement is smack on, and then this basically gets welded onto there, and then all I've got to do afterwards is cut this piece off and weld in the piece that I've lost. Ooh, decisions. I don't actually know what I've done with the other piece. Oh, down here. Then I just got to weld that piece on. There, basically. So that can go in there. Fuck, that bearing would nearly push in there, you know. Do I just push the bearing in there and leave it like that? I reckon that bearing would push in there. Do I dare hit it with a hammer just to see what it would do? I don't think I've got the bearing in very square. That would push in there. Should I just do that then? Why faff around doing all the other fancy stuff when I don't have to? And then just get the rubber, put the rubber over that, instead of having to sit the bearing in this bit and try and crimp that all over. I don't need that piece then, theoretically speaking. All I need is that bracket there. Get the height there right. That then distance has to be right. Yeah, I think we'll do that. The only thing is I don't know how much of that sticks out from an original. That is the other downside. Because obviously don't know how far that sticks in. That goes in there to its bearing. I'm going to say it sticks to about there somewhere. The steering wheel comes down over this, doesn't it? That looks like where the bush has been going, but I wouldn't imagine the shaft sticks out that far. Oh, shiva my timbers. Right, getting this out should be easy because I can just shove that down there. There we go. That goes in there like so. That went on there like so. Time you take bearing into account. So basically where it's rusty, roughly where it sticks out. Okay. Oh, so this shaft might stick out a little bit further than the original. Yeah, you can see where the bush was running on that. So I'd have to tap this in, because that's all smooth right down there. So I could just tap that in until I find where it's happy at. Yeah, I think I can make that work. I don't know how I'm cleaning the threads up on that yet though. Might be easier just to grind the threads off and put a new thread on it and then just get another nut and put on there. But this seems alright now. It's not very centre, mind you. I've got a bit of room for error in here. Oh well, we'll leave it at that, and we'll keep that as part one, I think. So we're sort of semi getting there, and we will get on to the next video. We will hopefully be putting either welding that trailer up or doing that trailer in between sort of jobs, and sorting out the steering box. So a piece of metal up here, a little bend in it so it sort of comes out and in, so it doesn't affect, I don't know if you can see the piece that it protrudes out by. It's not much. I could grind that away, but the thing is, if that ever buggers up and I need to replace it with anyone, then I'd have to do the same to the other one, and if you had a new one you wouldn't really want to grind it, would you? So, and I think what I might do is take all this apart, or I might cut the metal, try and get it to fit in place, maybe spot weld it in place, then do it that way. But at the moment I'm freezing my ass off, and I don't like freezing my ass off for no one. And I also patched this trailer thing up with a welder, and I just got to get a plate now, weld a plate on the top of that, and then re-drill the holes, and then go and sort the rover trailer out. But I've got to bring the rover trailer in. But that is weather dependent, because it's pouring down rain, and it's still pouring down rain. So time to have a cuppa. I'm going to cover my generator up. My generator's decided it's going to uncover itself, as you can see. It's the engine part, so it's not too bad. It's not the alternator part. Sadly, trying to get electricians down to help me out is near impossible. There's such a high demand for them as such, and you sort of when you want them, they're always away on another job. So you gotta look out for that, sort it out afterwards. But anyways, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. This video is going to be a bit early. Hopefully I'll get another one for you on Friday. The following week, I don't know what I'll be doing, because I'll be working again for someone else, and it depends what I'm doing. It'll depend on what videos I can do. And depends who's around too. Not everyone likes being on videos. But yeah, don't forget to give us a thumbs up.